welcome to another day in the Milky Way. Boy, do we got a good show for you tonight. And with my co-host, Nina the Mystic, and Dalibor, Suchy, thank you for being here, especially last minute. And
pleasure to be here.
Tonight we got a special show. Oh boy, a special show. We're going to be talking about the government. We're going to be talking about witchcraft and how we can all put it together. And what are they doing to us? And we're going to be listening to Celeste Solum and in her interview that kind of got this whole show going. Now, you know, this is not a normal Thursday night for us, but here we are because this was really important. So listen up good, people. Listen up good. Okay. That's my spiel. Okay, where are we going to start? We're going to start. What we got is we're gonna play the Celeste Solum interview with the health ranger Mike Adams, and then we're gonna comment on some of this stuff. And I'm sure this is gonna lead into a crazy, wild discussion. So people, listen up. I'm gonna play this part first because this is what Mike Adams said that we can do with his show, so I don't get in trouble with YouTube. And we're going to go to this, make sure I press all the buttons. I hope y'all can hear this. You should be able to. So here we go.
And thank all of you for watching today. I'm Mike Adams, of course, of brighteon.com, and you can repost this interview. Feel free to, and you can post comments beneath this video on brighteon.com, or you can post this video on other platforms. Just give credit back to Celeste on this and do your own research. See what you can find, because a lot of this stuff may have sounded kind of out there 3 years ago. Not anymore. It's published science. So almost everything that she's talking about is published either in government documents or in peer-reviewed medical journals. Believe it or not, even the nanocircuitry and the work of Dr. Charles Lieber and so on. It's all out there if you're willing to look. And the patents too. It's in the patents. So check it out. Thank you for watching today. Mike Adams here, the founder of brighteon.com.
Okay, so the thing is, all of it's out there. It's all documented all over the place. So we're going to give credit to Celeste Solum, and we're going to go through her stuff a little bit too later on. So we're going to jump back to this part. I can. And
experience with FEMA in the past in the United States, understands emergency management and how crises are engineered in order to enslave and exterminate humanity. So welcome to the show, Celeste. It's been too long, but it's an honor to have you back on today.
Well, we were both scrambling in light of 2020, and we're just now kind of catching up and
so
catching
true.
Our breath before the next round starts. So no problem.
Absolutely. And in fact, I have so much to ask you and we have so little time, but let's start off with a lot of people being concerned about this October 4th emergency broadcast system test. I think, I'm not convinced there's going to be any big thing happening on that day. I don't think you are either, but give us your take on what you think is going to happen or not.
Okay, stop right there. October 4th is coming when? Did anybody get killed from their cell phone?
Nope. Not that I know.
Nope. I think that was a big,
big distraction.
No, it was a big dud. Yeah,
Big.
as most of these predictions are.
Unfortunately, they put this out there to make us look like fools, and everybody keeps falling for them, and it just makes us look more and more foolish, right? And
so we're going to go through
what happened on October 4th.
So I did do an article that's at shepherdsheart.life on this, and I do believe it is a non-event. Why do I believe this? They
non-event. Okay, non-event.
do this EAS IPAWS every month. There are too many eyes on this. The people that like to do depopulation and things like to do it in the dark, and they like to do plausible deniability. And there's just too much media on it. There's everybody knows if people started bleeding out on the 4th because of this EAS alert, masses of people would go storm FEMA and hang them up.
She is definitely, I think, is right. Now, do you not agree? If they're going to do something like this, they are not going to tell us, are they?
Well, actually, from what I understand, they do have to actually tell us ahead of time.
Well, yeah, I mean, but
it's in a way that we don't either believe them because maybe there's been too many of these distractions of, oh, this is supposed to happen, and nothing happens. And then when the actual thing happens that they told us about, we just dismiss it, and that kind of thing. So
yeah, well, like with COVID, I mean, that was preceded the year before in 2019, October of 2019, with an exercise. It was a full-scale simulation, but it was, albeit only on computer, where they simulated a virus outbreak.
So again, they told us ahead of time. If you go and look back in history, 9/11, on that day, they were doing a drill.
Yeah.
During 9/11.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so same with the whole, CV thing that we just went through here. Again, they did a drill in October. We know exactly what they were going to be doing, right? If we pay attention, if we listen, right, to these things. So some of us were kind of, already alerted about it. Some people don't care. So
it was all playing in our minds.
Then I'd have to redo this. So it's been like playing tennis with artificial intelligence. They want people fearful. So in this article, I'm tapping it down saying, this is just a normal drill. They are not ready. They do not have the infrastructure for a bleeding out event. When they are ready for that bleeding out event, and I do believe that it will be not next month, but it is coming down the road. It is a digital pandemic. It is not a biological. You will be told it's biological, but in all the military circles, it is. We have been, installed with operating systems and IP addresses, and we will receive a code that says bleed out. To certain individuals, it depends who they want it to be, but it will be called a pandemic.
So, yeah, is that the Bluetooth signal that everybody's got inside from the, what, in the arm kind of thing?
I don't know about this bleeding out thing. That just seems a little weird to me, but I don't know.
Yeah, and why she uses that particular terminology is also kind of interesting.
Yeah. Well, Dalibor, you said that you could tap into those Bluetooth. You knew when people were coming over with the that had been subjugated.
That had undergone the procedure. Yes, I can see them on my cell phone, and you don't even need a special app. You just go to your Bluetooth settings and you turn them on. And but you can also download like an app that monitors like all the Bluetooth signals in your immediate vicinity. So yes, I can. If I write it down, I know exactly like who's coming over, who's at the house, who's not here.
So being a residential scientist, do you think what she's saying could actually happen?
Yes. It is possible. Yeah.
It is possible. Okay. I'm gonna fast forward to this a little bit.
Emotionally evocative that can even scare people who are already red-pilled, right? So people who know that the CDC is lying to them, the government's lying to them, those people can also be terrorized with claims of something that's going to cause you to bleed out. And so it's going to be very convincing and very graphic, and they're going to replay that over and over again. Basically, they're going to turn America into a horror movie.
Now, you think that's going to happen? That I think they only have to do it to a limited amount of people. And, they only have to do it to maybe a city or two, a few hundred people in a city. And people.
Well, look at what just happened in China in 2000 or 2020. A couple of people were falling over. Remember that in the beginning of it?
Yeah.
All of a sudden these people are stupid. That was only a couple, 3 people that we saw on TV. And yet the whole world went into lockdown. So yeah, it wouldn't surprise me that there'll be a front somewhere, maybe one city, you can turn on the 5 and then the other letter there. And that might activate the thing that people got. I don't know. I mean, that is the theory, but who knows? I guess time will tell.
Yeah, well, it's like sometimes all it takes is one person. I mean, just look at George Floyd. That was one person, and it caused riots globally, worldwide, even like on the North Pole, for Christ's sake. In like Svalbard, there were like BLM riots.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that was a whole agenda set up, right? We were set up for that whole thing.
Mhm.
You know, I think people who, even those who were there, realized, you know, shortly in that, hey, maybe we shouldn't be here. This is not, you know, this is not for the people. You know, they were being led into something here.
Sure.
But
yeah, but you know, and that was just one person. But from that, it was extrapolated that, you know, police are killing people left and right, even though this was an isolated incident in one city in the United States. There was literally no reason for it to spread to, you know, places like Vienna, Austria, or Svalbard, or wherever, where all over the world.
Mm-hmm.
that's why they got the social media in here. So we got a, you
Mhm.
know, what, a good 20 years now of social media, or not even. That's
Sure.
that's enough, right? In order for them to spread their agenda out.
Mhm.
And all of a sudden it's trendy. It just takes one or two people on there that's hired to do it. Start up a hashtag or start up the whole, you know, the thing around your profile picture. I was looking for one for Hawaii, not a single one. Couldn't find one, because that's one that I would like to have on my thing. Can't find that because that's not an agenda. Nobody started that.
That's right.
But all the other, the ones that, you know, you can tell which one's an agenda or not. Those are trending. That's an agenda. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay, let's get.
Hey, that non-event can be used to discredit a lot of people who have been sounding very specific warnings, thinking that that's the day that they say there might be a zombie apocalypse of people dropping dead. So there's going to be a lot of people discredited when nothing happens on that day.
Absolutely. But that's, you know, last year was a good example of that. It was the end of the world in September. It was the end of the world in October. It was the end of the world in November. It was the end of the world in December. I went and did a speaking tour of the United States. My private community was so mad at me for taking this trip. They said, you have no business on the road going out there with your dog by yourself, traveling the United States when it's the end of the world. And I said, you know what? God called me to this. And quite frankly, I have faith. He would not call me. And if he did tarry me, let's say I got stranded because there was no gas in town, it would be for a reason. And so we cannot live in fear. We are going to see unparalleled and unprecedented things in the days to come. And we cannot let these little fearful things, because this is truly manipulative messaging. I was there at the beginning of the messaging before 9/11. I was there for the development of messaging. I know propaganda. I know mind control. I've studied both the technology and then also working for the agencies. And this is a non-event. They want you scared for some reason. Now, that's usually because it's get scared over here, but don't look at what's happening over here.
Right. And so something that has happened over the last 3 years was how they're working towards signing the new WHO or UN treaties, as they're called, but they're not really treaties. They're just dictates to put the United Nations and the WHO in charge of the global pandemic response. And this has now been accomplished.
Okay, so it's talking about don't live in fear. Well, I think we went through that on this show multiple times about how we should not live in fear.
Well, just think back to 2000. Everybody was afraid all the computers were going to crash. Then remember 2012, the Mayan calendar. Oh my God, the Mayan calendar is going to come to an end. Everything's going to come to an end. And what happened? Nothing. In both instances, absolutely nothing.
That's the thing. Like the whole new age community, really, is just another distraction. It's just another avenue of scaring us into something. Like it's like, yeah. And the thing is that the unfortunate thing is that it's kind of like cry wolf. We've been so many times now let down, that when the actual event is actually happening, we're going to be all jaded and sitting over here sipping a beer and not worrying about it because we're so tired of it. Unfortunately, that's probably when we're going to get caught off guard. Something is coming for sure. We can all feel it. There are up to something for sure, but exactly the day and the hour, we don't know. Nobody
Yeah, and
knows.
also what also isn't guaranteed is success on their part of any kind. Because look at COVID, was that successful? I don't know. I'm not too sure about that.
Yeah.
I
Well, if
mean,
it was the numbers of death, then I would say no, and not immediately,
mhm,
anyways. I mean, but then again, who knows from the repercussion of taking the medicine, though, right? That is still
yeah,
folding out. And actually, I've heard that the numbers of deaths is just outrageous, and it's still climbing. This whole, they call it super cancer now. Like young people are getting cancer and
turbo
then dying
cancer.
within weeks. Like we're talking like things like that. That's coming up. So I think the death toll is going to be within the next 5 years, probably, where we're going to see that.
Mhm.
Unfortunately. So yeah,
Yeah, I agree with you on that. Yeah, you have the so-called turbo cancers. A
turbo
lot of
cancer. That's what it
yeah,
was. Yeah,
lot of people dying anomalously. Like
yeah.
in the last 3 years, 6 members of my immediate family have died,
Mm.
which is kind of unheard of.
Yeah.
And 4 of them had the injection. 4 of them. 2 of them did not.
Wow. Yeah.
Yeah, especially if they're young, it's unheard of, right? I mean, elderly people obviously die all the time. I mean, that's just the way it goes. But younger people, like in their 20s and 30s,
Hmm.
yeah, we need to, like it's, yeah.
Well, and then the end here, he says he's talking about the WHO and the WEF, and these guys are, as far as I can see, is that the government has given up their rights to a lot of things, so these guys can make laws and govern us when this thing comes around. I mean, be it cancer or a pandemic. So basically, by having this phone thing going on, it's like she said, here, watch this hand while they do this over here, and then you get dumbed down, like you said, Nina, and then here you are doing the sitting on the porch, cracking a beer, saying, the end of the world's coming, I don't care, whatever.
On the other hand, what realistically can we do about it?
It's a good question.
I like to think that by us talking about it and getting it out in the ether is kind of putting a curveball in their little plans. That's kind of why I'm doing what I'm doing. You know what I mean? I'm hoping it might change timelines, maybe even just by us, because believe it or not, how no matter how small you think your channel is, we're reaching somebody. Somebody's listening, and even if it's just one person that wakes up or starts questioning things or looking into, we've done our job, and that's all we can do, really, right?
Yeah.
And so make sure you guys are sharing these videos, okay? Liking, commenting, down below later, and so that they'll get out there so people can see them,
Yeah, that is important. Definitely getting out the information
yeah,
and making people aware of, like, okay, this is what happened to me. And like I pointed out, I lost 6 members of my family, and 2 of them before like the vaccines came out. And one of them was my brother, who happened to have died of a turbo cancer before the vaccine was invented or patented or rolled out. He was diagnosed in May with cancer and died in August. And
Wow.
his wife died the same day.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's
Mhm.
Well, I guess if you're going to look into that, we've had the same thing in my family too. My mom, it was from the day we got diagnosed till she passed, it was 5 weeks. But she had gone a whole year though in pain, and we didn't realize how strong this woman was and how much pain she really was in. But had she gone earlier and gotten checked better, we would have known it earlier. But from the time that it was 5 weeks. My aunt, who was the healthy one, who always ate organic and exercised and all this kind of stuff, a few months as well. She's 60 years old. She died of some stupid cancer. Never smoked or hardly drank, and so yeah. So these, I do believe that these things, okay, were in the medicines that they were given out in the 50s. Because I always question, like, why is that we have this baby boom of people? We know we're going to have this many people old at this certain time. Why aren't we building more senior homes and senior things, knowing we're going to have this major population increase? Well, I know now the reason why they didn't do that is because they knew they were everybody with this, whatever it was. I think it's the one that gives you that round mark on your arm. So a lot of us probably in chat knows exactly what I'm talking about. I believe it's that one, and so nobody's been gotten over past the age of 70 yet with my aunts and uncles here. My uncle died of cancer as well at 69.
That's because since the 60s and 70s, they've been putting SV40 in all the vaccines, all the mandatory vaccines, which was the MMR vaccine, from what I know. And SV40 is the substance that they give to mice to get them to get cancer for the purpose of cancer research. So, if you in any kind of like a cancer experiment, they need like 100 mice that have cancer, 100 mice that don't have cancer. Well, to get the 100 mice to get cancer, they inject them with SV40. And this SV40 guarantees that 25% of all the recipients will get cancer. That's why you have roughly 25% of all the people dying of cancer in terms of all-cause mortality.
So that probably came a little bit later. This is like in the 50s. So, and it's just, they deliberately put it in the thing. And I've heard, I can't remember where I heard it now, but they deliberately did put it in there. And it's just a time bomb. It's just a matter of when you're going to get it. And usually when you get older, because your immune system is a little bit down, and then having a stressful event. So I know with my aunt, it was the loss of her spouse, or, something stressful. My mom, it was actually me and my divorce that set that off for her. She was so upset about, what was going on with me at the time, and things like that. So it's just a matter of time. It's not a matter of when you're going to, or if you're going to get it, it's a matter of when. And then never mind all the other things that they've been putting in, medicines, injectables, and fluoride in the water and in the food that we're eating. I mean, we just don't have a fighting chance now.
That's why you have to realize this. You have to know this. You have to look things up like SV40. Find out what it is, find out fluoride, find out everything you can, and then take steps against it. And, in my case, I'm distilling my water. I avoid all pharmaceuticals, all of them. I take copious amounts of vitamin C because that it prevents cancer. It's also anti-inflammatory, and I believe that inflammation is the uber cause of like all diseases, pretty much. And I'm taking aloe and garlic every day. And garlic is also provably anti-carcinogenic. And once a week, I do colloidal silver. I make my own.
Yep. Good
yes,
job.
there's definitely a lot of health stuff that you can do, and I think most of the audience hopefully are already on board with that. And
also apricot kernels.
Yes.
3 a day. Don't take more than that, because anything more than that, you could actually suffer from cyanide poisoning.
I was going to say it is poisonous. Yeah.
Dalibor,
these are things that witches knew.
Dalibor, I got one thing. You're telling us all the stuff you do take, but there's one thing you've never mentioned, and
the fact that I still smoke.
No, the fact that you don't gorge out on large meals.
I just don't have the appetite. I've never been overweight, although I did lose a lot of weight when I moved from the United States to Europe in 2004. I used to weigh about 200 pounds. Nowadays, I weigh about 70 kilos. It's kind of a disconnect. I don't know how much that is really in pounds, but in other words, I weigh less without really doing anything, without consciously trying. I've never been obsessed with my weight. It was never a concern for me.
But see, that's the thing though, is a lot of people, especially in the United States, they're gorge eaters. I hate to say it, but there's plenty of buffets here.
Even if they weren't, all the food in the United States, at least from my experience, having moved back and forth a couple of times, it contains sugar. Even meat products like salami or whatever contains high fructose corn syrup. What is that doing in there? Or Chef Boyardee or Campbell's soup. Like, why is there sugar in any of these products? Or bread.
Sugar is a nasty one. It's the hardest one to get off to, I find.
It's also the most toxic.
Yeah.
It's the most toxic.
I know.
Yeah.
Sugar itself is not a carcinogen, but it causes cancer because what it brings about is
It
like a
feeds the
cascade of
cancer.
it.
Yeah.
Not just that, but it also brings about a cascade of hormones, beginning with norepinephrine, serotonin. All this starts getting released, and as you know, all the hormones are carcinogenic by themselves.
Hmm.
All 12 of the hormones in the human body are carcinogens, especially
Mhm.
adrenaline. So you want to minimize that as much as possible.
Yes.
Wow.
I know.
Yeah. Okay, let's get on and see what she says here.
So animal or the aquatic code and also the diagnostic and vaccination code. Each one is 1,500 pages and each one is rewritten every May. And so that was one stepping stone. The international health regulations, I think they started in 2005 also. They were just renewed. And then back in 2016, we took a very pivotal step. Very quietly, there was the call for precision medicine, which would be medicine based on your private genome, which you really shouldn't be giving that to anybody because it can be exploited, especially these days with it's open everything. They just share with all their friends. Um, but also there was something called the communicable disease regulation. It was given by the Health and Human Services. It was 88 pages. It was in the Federal Register. And it talked about shutting down the country, what the economic losses would be. And guess what? It mentioned two things, coronavirus and also Ebola.
Wow.
And as the things, this was in 2016. It was submitted on August 15th, 2016. It went into effect as a regulation on October 15th, 2016. And so it defines the quarantine camps, who's going to pay. Like if you have a forcible examination, if you're forced to get this examination or forced to get this whatever treatment they want you to have, that type of thing. So that was in 2016. Now they're just, slowly gaining power. Now they're fortifying up these international health regulations, and the WHO is just, it's strengthening its muscles and it's got teeth now of enforcement. And even though we didn't agree to it. And you know what came to me, Mike? Just the other night, I go, because I get.
Okay, so with that, what she's saying there is, they had this in 2016. They're planning this all out. Was the first run a test run? That's my question.
They were
yeah.
touting they were touting the possibility of mandatory vaccination in something like 2009, if I recall correctly, here in
Yes.
Europe at least, with the H1N1 swine flu.
Hmm.
Yeah.
And they were saying, it's going to be mandatory because it's really contagious. So I looked into it, and it was only thanks to the efforts of an Austrian doctor, who's since deceased, I believe, who was able to get this overturned, first in Austria and then later in the EU, where there's not going to be any mandatory vaccination. It's you can't force somebody to undergo any medical procedure in a civilized country, I should add. But the other thing with the genome or genome specific medications, that raises the possibility of genome specific toxins, genome specific bioweapons, and also the fact that the 2 out of the 3 major genetic testing companies were like 23andMe. They send all the results of those tests, all that data, to a company owned by Bill Gates's wife. Okay. And they also send it to a company in China that keeps tabs on everybody. And, regardless of whatever privacy regulations may be applicable in your country, once that data is sent off to China, all bets are off. So
Yeah.
I've never had my genome tested. I never
Me
will have my
neither.
genome because I know who my mother and father are, and I know who their parents were, and so on, going back centuries. So what the hell do I need it for?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's exactly what that whole thing was designed for, is to collect DNA data. Okay. And then, yeah, sell it to China. And we all know what came from China. They've already admitted that the last snafu we had came from there. And so they can actually make something just for you if they wanted to. And that's what's so scary, you know, about that whole thing. So yeah, people, do not give away your blood, period. Do not do the whole DNA thing, because it's not worth it. For the little bit of data that you might get, it's just
I don't even throw out anything that has traces of my biology on it whatsoever.
Well, no, going back to witchcraft. I mean, if you know anything about witchcraft, you know not to do that, right? So
I have a wood burning stove and everything. All that stuff gets burned. If it's not flushed down the toilet or the bathroom or whatever, it gets burned in the stove. That means, you know.
Yeah, your hair, your nail clippings, all that stuff can be used against you.
Cigarette butts, everything.
Yeah, DNA. That's right. We didn't know about that back in the day. Even like 100 years ago, we had DNA. What's that, right?
Yeah.
Never knew, but we do now. And yeah, it's very important to keep that private for sure.
Wow.
Yeah.
Let's get back
to the government. 2, all biological life had to be electronically identified, and 3, 24/7 surveillance. We were eminent domain, Mike. We were eminent domain.
That's an important recognition. Oh, absolutely. And what's happening now after that, and it's very apparent now to anybody paying attention, with the wide open border, the U.S. southern border, migrants by the millions flooding into Texas. And now we have tent encampments being constructed across cities like Chicago and New York City, where the illegals are taking over city parks and so on. It's now very clear this is a replacement strategy. The American people have been inoculated, injected. They're going to be exterminated. That process has already begun and will be accelerated. And I'm sure FEMA camps will have something to do with that. And then you'll be replaced. Your home, when you're dead and gone, your home will be taken over by one of these illegals. Your job, you know, your country, your representatives, all taken over. This is a very clear replacement strategy, and it's horrifying how the pandemic actually is playing the role of getting the American people out of the way so that the illegals can come in and occupy everything. What are your thoughts?
Absolutely. Are you familiar?
What do you guys think? Before she gets on with this, what do you think they're trying to replace people with the? I mean, it doesn't matter which country you're in, but it seems like Canada's getting it. You know, European countries are getting it. All the migrants from foreign places are coming over.
To me, it doesn't look like replacement, but what it looks like to me is the elite. All these elites are based in New York City, right? And they basically want every place on earth to look like New York City, which means, I don't know, not just the diversity of people, but also trash everywhere, graffiti everywhere, that sort of situation. In 2013, when this whole migration thing started, about 25% of the population of this city where I live was replaced. And at first they lied about it. They said that there was only something like 520 of them housed in the army barracks of the city. But then later on, they came clean and they said that a quarter of the population of this city, of 40,000 people here in Germany, is actually of migrant background. And since the war in Ukraine, I would say that that's been increased because I'm hearing a lot more Ukrainian, Russian, Eastern Slavic dialects outside my window anytime I'm listening and I got the window open because I live like in the inner city. So, that's what it looks like from my viewpoint here.
Yeah. Nina?
Yeah, there's several agendas going on here. So first of all, sort of in short term kind of thing is like they're bringing in more voters, more votes for them, right? So whoever's in, they get them in, they're like, oh yes, I love you, I'll vote for you. Second of all, they're taking down the country from the inside out by getting all these immigrants in there. They're coming in there in the busloads apparently. you know, and they've got all kinds of diseases, right, that we don't have here anymore, that have been, you know, gone for a long time. They're coming in with TB, all kinds of things. So it's going to be bringing in more diseases. It's going to be bringing in a whole bunch of things, and they're all, most of them too are like young males, right, and fighting age, and there a lot of them are. So what they're going to do is bring them in, promising them a bunch of stuff, then take that away, and then just let them explode into our cities and just mayhem. I mean, they can take us down just by, you know, for survival, for as far as they're concerned. But you know, there's so many different agendas here that they're doing. It's not just one. There's multiple reasons why they're taking in all these people. So
yeah, I agree that it's not just one agenda, because yeah, we're seeing things like what, leprosy. Yeah,
coming
they have
back.
they have to shut down the public swimming pool here, not once but twice because of traces of leprosy found, and that's a difficult disease to cure because it's very slow acting. It's a slow acting amoeba.
Yeah.
So
Yep.
and yeah, I'm seeing the same thing. Yeah, because they basically it's always the left doing this, and the left always wants more voters, whereas
Yeah,
you
so
know
that's what's going on right now.
the right always wants more taxpayers, whereas the left wants more voters, and it's pretty obvious. Merkel
And who's in
was
charge right now, right? So,
yeah,
and who's up for re-election?
yeah.
Who wants the voters, right? They don't even
All the
care
major
about the taxpayers at this point, right?
in this country, all the parties are left of center. All four of the main parties. The only contender that's not left of center is the opposition party, which would be the AFD, and that's the only party that at this point looks poised to take over. But if they do, that's also going to create a backlash because you know Germany doesn't seem to uh, have a lot of restraints. They go from one extreme to the other, and the way I see it is if the AFD does come to power, it's going to spell disaster for people like me who are I'm an immigrant to this country, but I'm here 100% legally. That it's going to turn against all the immigrants because see at this point the whole immigration situation in Germany is unsustainable. It's costing this country 49 billion euros per year. So which is something like 6 times more than Social Security and unemployment costs them. So they're basically feeding all these people who they added to the roles of the unemployed and the unemployable, yet they have not officially increased the unemployment rate, which is also deception, which also is a good indication to what extent you can trust the government statistics. You can't.
Yeah, that's another thing too, is children and whoever has papers or not. There's a lot of people missing all of a sudden at the border. They're separating the children from the adults. What do you think that's all about, right? So that there's that whole agenda as well. Like this goes down so deep and so disgusting, honestly. You know what they're doing, right? So
yeah. Exactly, and there's more agendas, as you pointed out, many rabbit holes you could go down, because a lot of these migrants are registered under 3 up to 6 names. On the other hand, some of them have no papers, you know, because they want to stay
so if they go
incognito.
missing, nobody will know.
Nobody will know. Yeah, you
Right?
see, a lot of these people are here, like people from the east, like from Ukraine and Russia. It's obvious they're here to escape the war. They don't want to serve in the military on either side. So, you know, just today I went shopping and this guy parked illegally, and he had this big Ukrainian flag on the back of his car, and I'm like, you know, he's not Ukrainian, because if he really was Ukrainian, he wouldn't be calling attention to himself like this with like a big huge flag in the back. So, you know, it's posturing, it's hypocrisy, it's you know, a lot of people on the left are pro-immigration because they feel that it's going to feed the system. It's going to feed the social security system. That we have an aging population and we don't have enough workers, you know, in the private sector working to pay into that system that they now want to collect on. But you know, since the government prints all the money, they can print as much money as they want, and they do that anyway without our knowledge or consent. So, I don't really see a problem with funding things like Social Security and unemployment and welfare.
Yeah.
Well, some of us paid into that our whole freaking life, right? So now
Exactly.
it's my turn to cash in, and I want to make sure it's there. Like it's not
Mhm.
looking good right now, but
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, let's see what she
Oh, you're
has.
with the Sphere program. It's a UN program.
No, not Sphere. Haven't heard that one.
Okay, Sphere, all capital letters, is a program, and that we are expected to take illegals into our homes to feed them, to shelter them. We are obligated. It is our global duty to the planet to take these people into our homes. And so you should check out the Sphere program. It's pretty all encompassing. It's down to the local level. I live in a town of 49 people, and you would think the regulations or ordinances in this city are like I'm in Nazi Germany and at the height of World War II.
Wow.
It is horrifying. As a matter of fact, I'm fleeing. I'm getting out of here. I'm in the middle of farm country, Bible Belt. I have 3 churches across the street from me, and I have to flee here because
No kidding.
it's Nazi rule. Nazi rule.
Well, so here's the question then. Over the last 3 years, we've seen many, many confirmations of nanocircuitry, DNA contamination, and a lot of confirmations about the mechanisms by which some of this exotic technology functions. Could you summarize for us sort of what we know today? Here we are in late September 2023. What do we know today about self-assembling nanocircuits or the lipid nanoparticles or things that have been injected into people? What do we know now that 3 years ago was shocking to hear? But go ahead.
So I think the most important thing. So I did this 8-part series on synthetic biology, and what I learned about it, to put it into a nutshell, is that basically we were created in, you can say, the divine image. You can say, according to the plan, whatever your belief is. And then they started to inject, under directed evolution and experimental evolution, this process to turn us into biohybrids. And we can talk about that for a few moments. And then with the final result, they have a few surprises for us to cavitate us, to hollow us out, gut us like a fish or an animal. It's hunting season. And fill us with soft robotics, with the end game of just being a total, there are no more carbon life forms, that you are going to be the host for a disembodied spirit or a demon.
Wow. Well, I'm sorry to interrupt you, but I believe that some of that has already.
Yeah.
Speculation. That's demons have nothing to do with this. No. But what I would point out is it a coincidence that one of the chips in the Zigbee board that controls every single 5G transmitter is labeled COVID-19? Okay?
No way. No
Yes.
way.
Yeah. There's a chip that's labeled COVID-19 in every single one of those. So that's got to be related.
Tell us. That's the thing. They do tell us it is in plain sight, but it is for us to see. And, even the Bible says not every eye is able to see and every ear is able to hear. Even though it's presented to you, you just aren't listening. You don't want to see it. So
what they want is they want everything to be trackable, traceable online. They want to integrate real life with the online world. That's why, all the people who have taken the treatment can be detected via Bluetooth on your cell phone. They want everything to be controllable from a cell phone, basically, because it's easier for them.
Whole thing is all about. Yeah, it's all about losing your privacy, and that's what people don't realize is that. Yes, all these, even our debit cards and our credit cards is all tap it. We just tap everywhere now. Nobody has time for change and all this stuff anymore. It's all convenience. It sounds like it's very good. And everything, that comes out, it gets started for good. It sounds good and it is good, but then they take it to the next level. So the next thing now is they want to get rid of cash because cash is not traceable. They don't know what we're spending it on. They don't like that. So it started with the points card at the store, right? You get the points, you know, but they're keeping track of everything that you're buying. And then, yes, this sounds good because you'll get the deals, the coupons in the email. That's exactly for the things that you like to buy. And so you think, hey, that's great. But you're not looking at the nefarious side of, oh, they're tracking everything, what you're buying, where you're buying it, you know, when you buy it. They know exactly when you're eating. They can tell when your hydro's on. They know when you're cooking, when you're cleaning. They know when you're doing your laundry. They know everything about you. Anything with smart in front of it, well, it's smart for
Avoid.
them, right? I mean, it's just people aren't realizing that their technology nowadays, it's not for our best interest. Okay. So
Certain aspects of it aren't in our interest. That's
it
why
is in short
yeah,
term, maybe convenience
yeah,
here and there, but
that's
in the long run,
yeah, I agree. Yeah, totally. That's why they had the lockdowns because that forced everybody to use electronic means of communications because ultimately every telephone conversation, every Skype call, every Zoom call is controllable and monitorable by some authoritarian figure.
right.
That's why I don't use loyalty cards at any of the stores I shop at. I use cash, and the problem is with private marketplaces like eBay where they've centralized more and more of it where you can't just send a check anymore, you can't send cash anymore. They want to control everything. The whole payment process is controlled by eBay now, and it's gotten ridiculous where I bought a coin on eBay and it was only like $150, but I had to like send my bank an email explaining what I had paid for. It was from the United States, by the way, and I had to basically, I got grilled by the bank. And then I had to spend 45 minutes at the customs office explaining uh, why I bought this coin or what is the composition of it, what is the approximate weight, what is the approximate silver content, things like that. And
Mhm.
it's like,
I know.
and
So a lot of
if you don't
people,
understand, they'll just send it back and or they'll
yeah.
just keep it.
So a lot of people are probably thinking, well, what are we going to do? What can we do about it? There's nothing I can do. Well, there is. Do exactly what he's doing there. Going back to cash. That's what I've
Yeah.
been doing too. Getting rid of your credit cards,
Hmm.
and going back to paying cash in the stores, right? I was
And
just teaching my grandson the other day here about money. Like he has no concept about, what the quarters are and what everything is, and it just, wow. Yeah, we really need to teach our next generation this stuff because they're just,
well, yeah,
uh,
the black specter hanging over the aspect of money is the
mm,
fact that you have taxation and corporations. They are favored above us physical people because
mm.
corporations only pay taxes on their retained earnings, right? Whereas we pay taxes on our revenues. All right, we pay taxes on everything that comes in, not just our retained earnings. Because if you
And
were
then we
to
got to
actually
pay tax on where we buy things too after
exactly,
that.
because we pay taxes on our expenditures, not just
Right.
income, but expenditures as well. When you do the math, it's about 90%. That's why, it's best to do as much business in person as you can with primary producers. Like for
Yeah.
example, my parents, they live in a small farming village about 40 kilometers away from here, and they buy all their produce from a farmer, direct from a farmer. So,
I'm
that's
doing more and more of that too. I've actually today on Facebook, I went and looked up, or actually it came into my feed, I think, local groups for like growing, produce and whatever. I can't remember what it was called, but like your farms and your whatever that they have for sale right around me here. I mean,
mhm,
these are the people that you need in your circle just in case the supply chain does break down. You want to know your farmer. Where are you
mhm.
going to get your honey and your eggs and your produce from if you're in the city, right? So go, and that's the beauty. One of the good things about social media and all these technologies that we have, that, yeah, there are some good things there. So go and get, involved with your local stuff, right? So that you know where all the stuff is, just in case the store's down. Oh, well, I got all my neighbors who are growing, and that kind of thing,
Mhm.
right? So
Yeah.
start getting out of your comfort zone, honestly, and start figuring this stuff out now before it's too late, because something is coming and there's going to be probably, if not a lockdown, there might be we might go dark for a while. Like, I don't know, where it's just the stores aren't going to be open anymore, so you got to be
But
self-sufficient. Like, I'm starting to bake bread now. Now, mind you, I'm retired now, so I got the time for this kind of shit, right? But I'm like, yeah, I don't want to be relying on the store, and it's getting too expensive. The prices for a good sourdough. I mean, my God, no, I'm gonna make that shit myself, and learn how to do it.
I get all my bread from my mom. She bakes all the bread.
Oh,
She
there you
makes
go. Well,
all
that's
her
gonna
own
be
bread.
me. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
exactly.
I'm mom.
See, the other specter that's hanging over the world of finance right now is inflation, and you're seeing that worldwide,
Yes.
globally, massive inflation. And you also saw a microcosm of that during the lockdowns when toilet paper skyrocketed. Because I remember my grandma, she paid like 20 euros for 4 rolls of toilet paper on Amazon. Okay, and even though she had enough, but she bought it just in case she wouldn't have enough. And by the time she got it, the prices had come down again. But they were, even now when I was in the store, they were limiting toilet paper to like 2 per customer.
Okay, so
Two.
that alone tells you that something's coming. See, I knew about the toilet paper before it happened. So I was one of those people that had my closet full of that shit, right? And I even posted up on my Facebook. I'm like, look, the store, they have it on sale, $3.98 for 12-pack. I mean, you can't even get that nowadays. It's stocked up. Go and get some. But do you think people did? No, they didn't, right? And then all of a sudden, oh shit, there's no toilet paper. What are we going to do? I got no, a lot of my friends got caught literally with no toilet paper. So of course, then I start joking around, telling them I'd sell them a roll for $100, So I lost a lot of my friends during that period. But, it was just like, I saw it coming though, and a lot of my friends who call themselves psychic and spiritual, they never saw any of this coming. So I don't know. It's just some of us, for some reason, can see it and just others don't. I don't know.
I basically consume very few food products, very few consumables, and what I do consume that is stockable, I have like a 6-month supply of, and when I do go shopping, I just refill that, and I always take from my supplies on a first in, last out basis. So I'm prepared for anything.
Yeah. Okay, let's see what Celeste has to say now.
So, but this one caught my attention. It was CRISPR on the farm. I said, for some reason, I am supposed to watch this. Now, my producer had said, do you know that in North Dakota, they're putting these huge tanks underneath the farmland, and they're giving the farmers huge incentives for it? And I'm scratching my head and I'm going, that doesn't make sense. So then I went to this webinar, and it was one person in Europe, and there was one scientist in America, and then there was the moderator. And this was my biotechnology. It was a biotechnology webinar. And what they were saying is, I know you've seen the graphic where it shows the geoengineering up in the sky, and then the GMO or synthetic biology plants, and then it has different layers. What they were talking about is the purpose or function of the synthetic biology plants is to suck out the atmosphere, the oxygen, the carbon dioxide, and oxygen, nitrogen. That's what this whole thing in Holland was all about, the Netherlands.
Well, wait.
Do you know anything about that?
I've heard about this, and I honestly, I don't believe it. I do not believe it. If you've just looked with your own eyes at how huge this realm is, I mean, anytime you fly from like Europe to the United States or whatever, you see like just the vastness. I mean, there is no way anybody could suck out the oxygen from the air. Forget it. Out of the question.
Well, these crazy bastards are going to try, though, aren't they?
Well, I think I think that these people are just fear mongering, because they may be right in,
I think they're insane.
90% of what they're saying.
Insane.
But this part, I don't believe. No.
It's not, there's a lot of distractions going on, guys, and that's the thing. It keeps us, talking about shit that's, not irrelevant, and we're missing the point. So that's the thing.
Yeah.
The whole about the farmers back in Europe there is they want the land. They want the farm. They want to take over. Like Bill Gates owns most of the farmland apparently in the US already, right? He wants to sell you his shit. Right, that's lab grown that he paid, pennies on the dollar, and he doesn't want you to have the good meat, because that's I hate to tell you, there's some of you in here that are vegetarians and whatnot, but meat, we need meat as a human. We need the meat. And I actually just had one of my nieces who had been vegetarian for years turn around now. She's starting to see what I'm saying, because she was starting to notice it on her body, her hair, her skin. Even though she's young, you're starting to know we need meat. I hate to tell you guys, but we just do in order to thrive here. And they know that. And so they don't want us to thrive. So they want us to get off the meat. Okay. So that's a whole nother agenda, but.
Yeah. And you can stockpile meat. You can stockpile like lunch meats. Most of that has a 2-year expiration period. And,
some of the cured meats, I guess, yeah. But and you can. That's another thing. You can fill your freezer full, yes. Especially if you're a hunter, right? That's good to do. But I would say half in the freezer and half canning, because what if the power goes out?
Yeah,
so
I don't have a
having it
fridge.
canned is good, But
Yeah.
you want the meat.
Yeah, I don't have a fridge, and instead I have about a 2-year supply of Spam. And that is
It
most
would have to be
what
an
I eat.
utmost emergency for me to eat that Spam. I got to tell you, but I do have some stashed away, but it would have to be a cold day in hell before I did. But yeah.
I think we all got a little bit of that stash somewhere, just in case. Just in case. Okay, let's get on with the next.
If Earth was colonizing another planet out there, and we had advanced faster than light travel, and we found a planet, was like, oh, hey, we want that planet. That would be great for us. But the atmosphere doesn't quite match what we need. Well, we would engage in terraforming operations, and we would probably try to exterminate whatever domestic indigenous life already existed there, so that the planet could be ready for us to colonize. Is that happening to us?
So that's very interesting, especially that you mentioned that this week. And the reason I say that is because are you following the news about the Orisis Rex that had been to Bennu?
No, haven't heard any of that.
Okay, so in 2016, sorry, I've got a fly dive bombing my nose here.
It's all right.
We sent us a device, or to Bennu to collect things from this asteroid, and they just brought it back this week, and God only knows what's on it. It could have microbes in it that could wipe out the whole world. It's very interesting, and the name Orisis Rex was named after the Egyptian god of the underworld and resurrection and massive death, and also agriculture.
Was this a NASA mission?
Yes.
Because I did read an article about. Didn't also China or another country gather some moon dust samples that just got returned to Earth recently as well?
Yes, that's not as. I don't think that's as concerning as the Bennu. Other samples have come back from the moon, and we haven't been wiped out yet. But this was from an asteroid, which we don't know where it's been, what it had on it. And of course, it was in a sealed container when it was in the capsule. But now, they're going to be experimenting with it. And God only knows what's in it.
Like a strain apocalypse or something. Who knows?
Okay. Have you heard about that?
No, but it's a distraction. I could just tell anything related to like space or aliens or whatever. That's just.
I don't believe they actually went to the moon again.
I don't think so either.
Fucking distraction. Yeah.
I think so too. Yeah, they didn't. They could never have gone to the moon. It was impossible then, and it's still impossible now.
They never talked about it at all. Just all of a sudden, it was done. I'm like, what? Wouldn't there be a huge buildup on that shit if they were actually going to? I think so. Yeah, it was just. I don't even know why. I mean, what did it do really for any of us? Like, Didn't
public
distract me a
relations.
whole lot because I didn't believe it in the first place. But yeah.
It was all cinematography, really, because
even without action.
Oh,
because
sorry.
because that's the one of the fortes of the United States, is cinematography, and this moon landing thing. This was a feat of not science; it was a feat of cinematography because basically American movies have taken over the world. You know, and in any country you go to, you'll be able to see American movies. If I go to the United States, am I going to be able to see a Czech movie? Fat chance.
Yeah, that's
Well,
true.
to be honest, because of Hollywood's been on strike lately, when you go on Netflix, you see a lot of European shows,
Oh,
movies now.
okay.
Yeah, because there's nothing else because Hollywood's been on strike. So, there you go.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Okay, let's.
It would be triggered electronically. Can you talk more about that?
So I was doing, getting ready. So I back up. I was studying the Havana syndrome, and for a lot of years, nobody knew anything about Havana syndrome. And then all of a sudden, details came out, and I worked like I very busy that week.
Do you know what Havana syndrome is?
Oh yeah.
Okay, Nina.
Yeah.
I've heard of it. Yeah.
Dalibor, maybe explain it. We can skip over some of this because I don't know if this really has.
It was it was caused by most likely by microwave bombardment of the American embassy in Havana, which is where the term originated, and they also traced it to the same symptomatology happening to employees at the American embassy in Moscow, where they were using microwaves to eavesdrop on them because they had given them like this plaque that was like made of wood or whatever, but behind it was like covered with cloth. But behind the cloth, it was like shaped like in a concave shape where anything that was said in that room would be transduced to a certain point where it could be detectable by microwaves. So, yeah, Havana syndrome is caused by microwave exposure.
Wow. Yeah.
Mhm.
Okay, let's listen to what she's got.
Weekend to put all the details together, and then I put a webinar together. It's called "Same Time People Are Bleeding Out." The cyber would also bleed out, and out of the ashes of both the people bleeding out and the cyber, which would be our current internet, that this new system would arise. So they were very open about talking about that. And then in other military circles, they talk about that they want all humans depopulated by 2025. Now, I heard 2030 for a while, then I knew that in all the military and government circles, it was 2025. And I still believe that it's on track for 2025.
Okay,
and so
I'm sorry to interrupt, but a key question, Celeste, is it only those who have been injected who are subject to this, or is it potentially everybody?
No, because with what I learned with that direct energy weapon is that the operational go has been given to hit every man, woman, and child on Earth. And what it does is a process called cavitation. And what it does, I want everybody to close your eyes, think of a bottle of 7-Up. What happens when you shake a bottle of 7-Up? That's what it does. These frequencies go into any orifice in your body, but they particularly like the ears. They go in through your ear canal, and they go two ways. They go through your spinal fluid and your blood into your brain. They slam into your brain, causing traumatic brain injury. It can do many things. It can cause it to go necrotic, which is your brain dying. It could cause a stroke. It can cause you to have, even in the middle of the United States, to have the bends. It can seed Alzheimer's into you. But it's a bleeding. It will also cause you to bleed out. It can cause you to bleed out.
Is this based on the concept that our bodies are mostly water? And
Okay, got anything to say about that? Oh my gosh.
Well, there's a YouTube channel called Tech Ingredients where they address this question of microwave weaponry from space, and they pretty much proved it that the U.S. government does have the technology to pull this stuff off, including effects like the Maui fires that could have been been triggered by a space-based weapon. But as they also point out, the closer the weapon is to the target, the more effective it is. So in all likelihood, it was not a satellite, but simply an airplane circling above the area and targeting it with a laser beam of some kind. But since they have that technology, they could be using not just the laser beam, but microwaves causing, like I said, Havana syndrome, but also ultrasonics, which would cause the effect of what she mentioned, cavitation, which may eventually cause things like bleeding and
Could
the other symptoms.
could this all come from like cell phone towers?
They're not. I don't think they're powerful enough to do that using cell phone towers, because the power required to keep a cell phone in communication is very low. It's like milliwatts. It's not as powerful as you would need to start a fire.
How what about your electricity in your house and the new light bulbs that we have? Those, not the regular, they're not the incandescents, but these other new ones. They're really powerful. They'll burn your skin. You get too close.
Mm-hmm. Well, yeah, I mean, everything is possible. The question is, do they have the capability to do this efficiently?
I know.
And like I said, most likely it's not a satellite, it's an airplane. And if an airplane is sufficiently high up, nobody will ever see it or hear it.
Or weather balloon. A weather balloon.
Or a weather balloon. Yeah.
Well, this whole DEW, right? Somebody just mentioned DEW, the direct energy weapon. Apparently, you don't see anything. So all these videos where you're seeing these lights coming down and everything, that's all fake. Okay, that's fake. And that's another one of those things that they show out there to discredit us, who knows what's going on. The DEWs, actually, you can't see it at all. So if you were sitting there in traffic and all of a sudden you would just see the hole in your engine boring out, you wouldn't see the actual thing coming down. So, so nobody saw that coming in Hawaii. No. You won't see it. Mm-hmm. It's invisible. And they can target you directly from whether it be a satellite or an airplane or whatever, to go right into your house and target. There's people, there's a whole thing about targeted people. They're being fried, literally by something beaming into their homes, for those who are undesirable, right? Mm-hmm. So they have that technology already. They're already been doing this for a long time. And I wouldn't put any of that she mentioned past them, to be honest. Mm-hmm. Is that how they're going to depopulate all of us? Probably not. It's probably because that's more of a target here and there. It'll be too much power and effort on their end to do all of us that way. It'll be more like a virus. That would be brilliant, or even just an EMP, just to turn off the power. Give us 2 years, most of us will be gone in that time, and you can just come in and take over all our resources. That would be the way I would do it if I was a general in some military. But but there you go.
Yeah. Can they target people individually? That's a good one.
Yes, they can. Yes.
Yeah, sure. Mm-hmm. I mean, if you have a unique, since you have a unique Bluetooth address, if you've gotten a shot,
they know your cell phone, wherever your phone is, they know where you are. You got the little fucking thing in there.
That is so true.
They know which room in the house you are because your phone is with you.
That's why I don't keep my phone in the same room I'm in. It's at the other end of the house.
Very, very smart. You see, we've been gaslit now for the last 20 years for this whole Faraday cage, which used to be tinfoil hat, right? Mm-hmm. Well, now it's a Faraday cage. It's very in now to have your cell phone in there and whatever. But yeah, no, this is, if you're worried about being targeted, get rid of your cell phone, or at least hide it somewhere where they can't monitor and know exactly where it is. Yeah, mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Yeah, this is true. This is true. Okay, let's get on with this and see what she has to say.
Of course, the cavitation of water molecules releases a tremendous amount of energy in a very small space, which can cause the rupturing of cells. Is it?
Yes.
That's the mechanism of damage?
Yeah, kind of like that. Yeah.
Well, really, if they did that, they would only have to do a pinpoint on you to make it start bubbling, and then your body would have a reaction, would it not?
Yeah, well, the supercavitation that you can only do with ultrasound. And ultrasound is not that powerful because I've had an ultrasound bath, and you can put your hand in it. It's not going to do anything to your hand. But if you take an object that's like dirty, what it will do, especially a metal object like a coin, you put it in there, it'll clean it off flawlessly, much better than any chemical or mechanical system of cleaning.
Okay.
Body, because there's a lot of electronic pollution, and that's degrading our immune system. But no, it does not have the power. Drones, these very low orbiting satellites with things named Ouija. There's a bunch. They're all named after gods and goddesses, and they also have witchcraft on them, as well as the direct energy weapons. That's what's going to be used. It will have. It can be, let's see, ultrasound. It can be pulsed EMF. It can be millimeter. It can be microwave. It can be laser. It can be a combination of any of those or all of those. And oftentimes you can hear it. So let's say that you feel that you're being targeted. I've had the experience, unfortunately, a few times. What you can do is, it is very precise. It's a very small location. So if you think you're being targeted, walk outside, get outside, and you will be outside of its range. So that's one idea. The people that were developing it, unfortunately, said copper, woven copper that you can get on Amazon, but it must be grounded on the temples, will prevent any attack and any damage. So copper, I think in the days to come, is going to be a big go-to for all of us as far as protection on many different levels.
That's really interesting. I want to ask you about.
Okay, so what about the copper? You know, and the EMF and what she's talking about there. And then she's talking about witchcraft on the satellites. Is this a thing?
So now we're starting to get into the topic of the day, right? With the whole witchcraft.
Yes. How is it she says these satellites have witchcraft? They're using witchcraft. What is that?
They always have, Robert. They always have.
Yeah.
That's the thing. Like every logo that you see in any business, that's not just a logo. That's a sigil for that company. Okay. And you don't think that they have hired one of the best freaking sorcerers or witches or whatever to put, why do you think one company all of a sudden flourishes over another?
Yeah.
And we just went through the whole spiritual science thing. It's not a big woo-woo, kind of thing. It's actually science. That actually explains it a lot. That whole book, that whole thing we went through it validates a lot of what witchcraft is all about. Which you can also go back to manipulating the matrix is kind of like that. What you're putting out there, you're changing things. You are manipulating your world by the word, like God says in the beginning of the Bible, by the word. Spelling.
Yeah, every letter is a sigil.
Right? So we're writing it down. That's all it is. That's all it is. There's no more real woo-woo to it than that, to be honest. And yes, they use it all over the place. Yes, they do.
Every letter is a sigil.
Yes, exactly.
Every flag is a sigil in a sense. Even like the Czech flag, my flag. If you notice, if it stands upright, that's Thorisaz, which is a rune. And Thorisaz, that's like the worst rune you could draw. That's like the equivalent of the tower.
Right. You're talking Nordic
the tarot.
runes?
Yeah, Nordic runes.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, it's the same thing. Yeah. You can put a rune on it, sigil on it, whatever, depending on where in the world you're living, right? So whatever witchcraft or whichever pagan tradition you're into, basically, is what it is. Yeah.
Wow. Okay. Yeah, they're really getting into that. Okay, let's see if we can get to the next question here. Let's see what he's got.
Do you have solutions? I see you've got some EMF protection, things like that. What do you have there that...
Yeah, EMF protection. So
Yeah.
what do you either one of you have EMF protection?
Yes.
Do you wear the shirt, the hat? I know I looked up a hat the other day and I was going to get it $45, thinking, holy cow, for an EMF hat.
No, see what I have is I've got my sleeping area shielded from 3 sides using copper plates, and from the bottom using lead foil. I also sit on a large piece of lead foil, so I'm shielded from the bottom because most of those are coming from the earth itself. I've also found used like an EMF detector like this one, a tri-field meter. Even though you can download an app for that, where you can find
Hold it.
out.
There you go.
Yeah, you can find all the hotspots in your home and just avoid them. And I discovered, like, really interestingly enough, that it's the same on every single floor of my house, where I have like a central hallway running down the house, and it's always like at one of the doorways. At one of the doorways, it's like the most intense. And in most people's houses that I've done this in, it tends to focus on doorways emanating from like a hallway for whatever reason. So you want to avoid those areas. And I've also done my own experiments using cell phone signals and what blocks them most effectively. I've tried silver foil, I've tried steel foil, I've tried stainless steel, copper, lead, and what else? And the most effective is either silver or copper. So for practical purposes, your easiest go-to should be either lead or copper because that'll block it. So steel, not so much.
Okay. So lead or copper. Copper would probably be easy to get to, because there's lots of copper around.
Yeah. I mean, I was gonna actually buy this lead foil, but I was kind of reticent about buying it because there was a guy that was selling it on eBay Germany for the longest time for about 200 euros, and I was like, 200 euros, kind of a lot. So I used divination, and there was an upcoming Sperrmill, which is like a bulk garbage disposal day. I'm like, just on the odd chance that I'll find some. So I used the pendulum, and pinpointed it down to an exact spot. Okay, here's where there's a high chance that I might actually find it. And you're not going to believe this, but I cruised that area like 6 times, and on the 6th time, a box appeared. I looked inside the box, and there was like 3 rolls of like lead foil. I'm like, oh my god! So yes, magic works.
Wow.
The paranormal is 100% real. I mean, I've been convinced of that. I've had proof of this like so many times over the intervening years. It's beyond debatable. So yeah, you might want to use EMF protection. But then again, what she mentions about the human immune system being attacked by all these EMF radiation sources, that's all true. But the other side of that coin is the fact that the human immune system is also very adaptable. In other words, humans didn't grow up around electricity. So when electricity was rolled out in the 1920s, you had the Spanish flu outbreak. Then when radio was rolled out, you had a different flu outbreak. In other words, each one of these technological advancements was accompanied by like a disease outbreak.
Yes,
correlated to that.
The telegraph, same thing.
Yeah, but humanity rebounded. Just like the American Indian population rebounded and gained an immunity to all these Western diseases that had originally genocided them.
Yeah.
So
well, that's how humanity has, only the strong survive, they say, right?
Yeah.
And you being here right now means that you have survived all that. You got a really good immune system,
Yeah,
so yeah, and going back to the whole, I mean, we can get a little paranoid with the whole tinfoil. I mean, you can tinfoil up your whole freaking house and live in there. I mean, to me, I don't do that. I don't tinfoil anything. I don't wear a certain thing. I don't do any of that. Now, however, I do like intentions, though, putting intentions out there. I like to rely on my spiritual team for protection and things like that. I rather rely on because I know spirits are here. I don't know all the other stuff. but spirits, I know they're here. I can feel them. I know they're here. I can communicate with them. So I rely more on that myself. But yeah, is there no doubt? And then I've noticed too, copper is getting really expensive around here. All these criminals are going around construction sites, stealing all their wiring, right, and taking up the copper. You know, and if I had my way, I would love to have like a pyramid with copper lined, and I use the copper for energy conductive because it's very conductive for energy. That's why they use it in the wiring, and we use it for our spiritual intentions as well. So that's kind of what I would like the copper for, rather than shielding myself from something. But
the shielding effect is also good. It's kind of a crutch though. I mean, I have a copper helmet and a steel bowl that I put over my head anytime I need to concentrate, and it does work. You feel it almost immediately. It does help you concentrate. So if you're doing things like, paying a lot of bills or negotiating something complicated, you need the focus and the concentration, the use of a copper or steel helmet will help you.
Wow.
Yeah, I'm not going to dismiss it. I'm sure it does. I just haven't gotten into all that kind of
stuff. I know Max Vision has a really bad time with EMF radiation.
Yeah, that's right.
The salad bowl, I just like deformed it a bit so it fits my head. Just deformed it and it fits over my head. Yeah.
Right.
Long as
I just can't bring myself to go there. You know what I mean?
Well, each his own. That's what it all is about.
I'm not going to go to the salad bowl quite yet, but I never know. I might get there.
You never know. Okay. Well, let's go on with this. We got a little bit more and we'll see what they got to say.
If it's spread out over time, right? So it's the intensity of a lot of radiation in a short amount of time that causes the cellular genetic damage, the chromosomal breaks that tear your cells apart, right? So just like you said, Celeste, if you feel like you're being hit with some kind of weapon, you can move, you can change locations. If you can reduce that exposure or even spread it out instead of getting hit all at once, you have a much better opportunity for your body to respond to it. And you're right, there are a lot of nutritional solutions. Your body can self-repair, for example. But Celeste, the spike protein in the jabs, the spike protein, blocks the chromosomal repair mechanism, as you know, called the NHEJ, which is an end joining technology that that your body naturally has to reconnect broken, what are called double strand breaks, right? But the spike protein halts your body's ability to repair the chromosomal damage, which means that the vaccine is kind of like a softening up for getting clobbered by radiation that would otherwise not kill you. But because the vaccine makes it so your body can't respond, then it can do a lot of damage. Does that make sense?
So in government and military circles, that's what is known as a wicked problem. So if you try and solve one thing, you're actually aggravating the other thing. So look it up. You can even find it on Wikipedia. It's a wicked problem.
Well, there's all kinds of wickedness in what they're doing. That's for sure, and witchcraft as well. Did you see that the Ukraine has put in place now an ambassador who's an advocate of spirit cooking, where they cook with blood and sperm, by the way. And this is apparently very consistent with the corrupt leadership of Ukraine that also had a transgender satanic-looking spokesperson for the military that was talking about how Putin was drinking the blood of children. But I mean, everywhere you turn, it's just satanic evil in charge. They're not even hiding it. And the Canadian Parliament just stood up and applauded an actual Waffen SS Nazi, by the way. They called him a hero of Canada. It's just out in the open, Celeste.
Oh, we got to stop on that one.
See,
Nina, what do you? Your country there. That's your country.
Oh, yes. Yeah. And did you see how quickly Trudeau kind of put the Speaker of the House under the bus? And he resigned the very next day, blamed it all on him.
Yeah.
This stuff goes on all the time, guys. It's just that most of the time it doesn't get brought to light. People don't find out about this shit, right? It's nobody won the war, by the way. Yeah, yeah. I know most of you might be a little bit older, but the young people, they have no idea. Nobody won the war. It just ended all of a sudden on some day. Okay.
Mhm.
And all of the scientists and all the people that were part of the whole, I don't even want to say the party, the end party back in the 40s, moved to the Americas. How do you think
And
your country was founded here? They were
and they
all
founded
founded
not
on
and they
these
founded
people.
NASA. And they founded
Yeah,
NASA.
that's right. That's right. Where do you think all of this stuff is coming from, guys? We were taken over in the 40s, and that was something that came to me in meditation years ago. Something changed in the 40s. Now I don't know if it was Eisenhower made a deal with something. I don't know. Again, I try not to go too woo-woo on some of these things, but something changed. I remember mentioning it to my aunt, because I'm from Europe as well, and she had this weird. She agreed in a weird way. And I
Mhm.
remember my grandpa too. He just wouldn't talk about it. So he was. I remember coming home. I learned how to draw a star. Turns out it was the star of a certain people. My grandpa flipped out, because he was young during that time, and it was like, I wish I could go back and ask him questions now. Like, what the heck happened in the
Mhm.
40s? Something happened there. Yeah, from what I understand, I think Mr. H was in on it all. They made a deal. He just moved on somewhere else. He didn't do what they said he did, and nobody won the war. There was no winners or losers for that matter. It was a deal being made, and the human population has basically declined since then. You can look, like, we went from Leave It to Beaver to now in how short of a time? Like, what the heck happened here? Definitely a huge agenda against us. And here we are.
Yeah. Yeah.
See, yeah, I would totally ignore the actors, and by actors I mean, the people on the stage, people like Joe Biden. They're not
Yeah.
in charge. Neither is anybody
No.
in the Ukrainian, or who we think is in the Ukrainian government. None of them are in charge because Zelensky, he's got no military experience,
They're
none.
literally actors.
He's
Okay.
literally a comedian, and he
Literally
was in
an
he was in a
actor and
music
porn actor too. Like,
and he was in a music video where he danced in
yeah,
a supermarket naked. I saw it, and
I know.
you
Shaking
can
his
unsee it.
thing and everything.
Yeah,
It's like, it's disgusting. It's in
yeah.
your face. And like,
Mm-hmm.
even Trudeau, he's a drama teacher. That's it. That's
Mm-hmm.
the only education he has. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
I know. It's
Well,
in your face and it's disgusting. And
In other words,
well,
we don't really know who's in charge, but it's certainly
no.
no, we
not the
don't. Well,
people
I
that are
kind of know, but yeah,
put
no,
up
it's
there.
not the ones we think it is. No,
Mm-hmm.
no.
Well, and that's the other thing too. That he was talking about the lady they hired for the ambassador, and she's a spirit cooking, Satan worshiping weirdo, and it's like, wait a minute,
And as a matter of fact,
how.
they wanted to hire that Abramovich woman to be
That's
like the
it.
U.S.
That's the one.
ambassador to Ukraine. Yes, yeah, that's it. Yeah,
That's the
yeah, yeah,
one.
yeah.
Yes.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So,
And
like I
then they
said
hire.
earlier about giving out your blood, semen, these things. Okay, yes, these things are used in witchcraft. So
Mhm,
yes,
sure.
yes,
Yeah. So
Or
the thing is they're just starting to come out what it is, basically, in my eyes, and I'm the average Joe, is
yeah,
they're coming out and just putting it out there now. They're not even trying to cover it up. Remember the
mhm,
Pizzagate and
yeah.
spirit cooking that they had when the Clintons were around, or Obama, or whoever the heck it was, and they were talking about all this stuff back then, and that never happened. They were talking about this. Yeah, wasn't it? Oh, no, nothing
mhm,
happened.
I think we
And
changed. I think we changed timelines. Honestly, when
yeah,
Trump won, I was like, "What is going on?"
mhm.
mhm.
That's something that, like, Trump wasn't supposed to win. Like, we switched. Now I think I'm hoping that we switched to a better timeline, because God knows what would have happened if Hillary's in
Well,
charge. I don't think we
he
will be here right now, to be honest,
well,
if
he
that
even
had
well,
happened. But we
Trump even
definitely
said
switched.
Trump even said that his favorite movie was Donnie Darko, right? And if you
Mm.
see that movie, it is about alternate timelines.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a weird movie,
I think
and
we
I
did.
recommend everybody watch it.
Donnie
Because
Darko.
I have recurrent dreams that happen before it happens and everything. I'm not going to tell you exactly what the details were, but I had a bunch of recurrent dreams and I knew I was going towards some, and all of a sudden it stopped.
Mhm.
Huh.
So I'm like, what? Yeah. So even in my personal life, I can say, yeah, we definitely switched because I was supposed to go in a different way. But yeah. So I
Wow.
don't know how much are we in charge of that? So that is very interesting. That's where we need to find out,
On
like how much and how can we change it?
See, that's the
You know,
thing. We can
deliberately.
change it. We just it's
We're
not the
doing
way
it,
we
but
think.
unconsciously.
Not the way we think. It's not by voting. Voting's not going to change the
Yeah, no,
damn
it's not
thing
the voting. It has to
because
do with our
by you
energy, or
voting,
what we're doing, what we're talking about.
by
Just doing
you
the show
voting,
here right now might be changing it.
that's it. That's it. Yeah, but
Yeah.
just by voting, you are betraying the fact that you believe in politics as a real institution, which it is
Yeah.
not.
Yeah.
Okay, you're giving it the credibility that it desires. Whereas
Yes.
if you don't vote, I've never voted in my life because I don't believe
Well,
it.
stop doing that, people.
Yeah.
Stop voting. I like to say stop paying taxes, but I know some of you aren't going to be able to do that. But if you're like I figured out how not to. I don't pay taxes anymore, but that's a whole nother thing. Try to get out of it, all of it. Like stop doing it. You're feeding the insanity is what you're doing, is by doing it all. But yeah.
Mm-hmm.
See, the best thing you could do is talk about it and talk about it on
Yes.
programs like this. Find
Yes.
out more information, and most of all, get pissed off and get other people pissed off.
Exactly.
Because the more pissed off people you get, the more you're going to have a chance at non-compliance, where non-compliance is the most effective weapon. It's not going to be a demonstration on the street. It's not going to be people hanging from the lampposts. It's just going to be people saying, no, fuck you. No, I'm not doing this. That's all it takes.
Exactly. Yeah.
And had we done this at the start of 2020 with the lockdowns and COVID, the masks, all the social distancing bullshit,
Well, I
people
tried.
just said,
I was posting.
so
I
did
was
I.
doing everything.
Same here.
Nobody
Same here.
listened. Nobody listened.
Mhm. But
So-
now today I went shopping, and now today I finally noticed that like all the plexiglass barricades at the cash registers have come down.
Yeah, I
So
noticed
what?
that too, just now.
Just
Well,
now
I
it's
do
coming
believe it's
down.
going to be coming back up again, shortly, but we'll see. We'll see. Maybe
but
not.
gas-
Maybe we've talked about it so much that the timeline that we thought was going to happen is not happening now. Maybe we are going back to something better.
Possibility. But
I'm
at the
hoping.
same time, I'm coming home and I passed one of the gas stations, and gas is like 1.98 a liter. So like 1.98 euros a liter. So that's like $2.40 per liter, which would be like
Wow, that's more than here.
$9
Yeah, we're around
a
$2
gallon.
a liter
Yeah,
in Canada, but
$9
yeah.
a gallon here. Yeah.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's going to get to a point where we can't afford to drive anymore, and that's part of the agenda. They don't want us out there driving anymore, and so what to do? Just yank up the gas. I'm not going to be able to afford it anymore, right? It's going to be a luxury to be able to go out on a Sunday drive once in a while. Remember that back in the day?
Yeah.
When Dad took you out on a Sunday drive, that was something special. It wasn't something we did all the time. So we are going to be going back to the way it used to be in a lot of ways. But at the same time, there will be, modern things as well. But yeah, it's for some of us, it's going to be not so bad because we kind of remember it. But for other people who are younger, they're like, what are you talking about? You know what I mean? Like, yeah.
See, the most disconcerting thing about gasoline and the internal combustion engine is the fact that fuel efficiency has not gone up. It's the same as I remember it back in the 70s.
And we also know, Robert works in the oil field, and he can contest the same. We have an unlimited amount of fucking petrol fuel down there, so there's no worries about that. So that's the thing; they're lying about all this, right? Saying that it's
a lot of it.
Fuel. It's not fossil fuel. No,
there's so much of it. They're pumping all the time. It's just like I've seen wells go down, but then they always just keep pumping. Oil is just, it's everywhere.
It's
You know,
tons.
yes.
The Earth
I mean,
keeps making new stuff all the time. So, in what, we should just go, keep doing that, and use our cars the way it is, and use that fuel that Mother Earth has given us. I mean, yeah, it stinks and whatever, but I mean, it's made by the Earth. So, who are we to, complain?
yeah.
Yeah.
We're at an hour and a half. We're gonna wrap this up. Even
Yeah,
though
we should probably wrap this up.
but I'm gonna close it off with this little bit, and I'm sure you all recognize it because, as you were saying, you need to tell everybody, and you need to say this.
Yeah.
Take it anymore! I'm mad as hell! I'm not gonna take it anymore! I'm mad as hell and I'm not gonna take it
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm mad as hell!
And there we go. And it's a good way.
Remember back in 20 or 21 when China was in the lockdown and they're all screaming from the apartments?
Yeah.
That's kind of what that reminded me of. It's horrible. Yeah, let's not ever go back to that, people.
Yeah.
Don't let them lock us down again.
Yeah, they were actually welding doors shut.
Yeah.
Doors to apartment buildings.
Yes. Letting them starve to death in their apartments, knowing that most people only have maximum 3 days worth of food. So this is genocide, people. This is a crime. These people need to be held accountable for what they've done. And for God's sakes, don't let us go back into it again. That's all I gotta say.
Yeah. I'm gonna have to persuade Lucky to come up with a mantra like that we mad as hell and not gonna take it anymore.
That's right.
But this is true. We need to just spread it around. Tell people, tell them to come back and watch this show, and then like you said, you can't learn everything from us. We're just bringing up the topics. You need to go out and do your own investigation, and then that will lead from one thing to another, to another, to another, to another, and then pretty soon you'll be the wise guy on the corner that everybody says, "Wow, how does that guy know so much? Why is he doing what he's doing? Seems like things don't affect him like they're affecting us. How does he always know when to buy the toilet paper before the scaredy? How does he know these things? Why does he not go into Walmart and he goes into this other store? Maybe I should follow what he's doing."
There you go. So start following us, people. Subscribe, like, and share.
That's right.
Yep.
Good way to get that in there. Yeah. But anyway, I appreciate both of you for coming on tonight. This was a really good one. Like I said, it's been on the tip of my tongue for days. I seen that show with Celeste Solum, and she's got her own channel too. If you go to, if I got it here, I'm going to share this real quick. Let me get this up. Screen share. Get this. A lot of buttons to hit, people. Okay, she's got her own website. You can go to this. It's the Celestial Report. She's got a lot of good stuff on there. Talks about mind reading, soul catcher channel show, what she does. Things like that. He's got, a lot of. Anyway, okay, I got to get that off. She plays music. Anyway, so I go check Celeste Solum out. She's got a lot of interesting stuff. A lot of times she does talk a little bit about God and all that other stuff, and you can take what you will of it. I take the good stuff and throw the rest out. But anyway, I appreciate each and every one of you. Thank you both for coming on tonight and your wise wisdom that you add to the whole group. I appreciate it very much. But the main thing is go out, people, like, share, and subscribe. Like Nina said, don't forget to join us on Saturday night here. Oh, yeah, what day is it? It's Thursday. Saturday night, we got the Ganja Shaman on. And then on Sunday, I will be on Nina's show, Horns of the Goddess, for episode. What episode we on? Like
7.
Seven.
Episode 7. Yeah.
Episode 7.
I got the link in the chat there. So join us up on my channel on Sunday for episode 7 of Horns of the Goddess. Then I put another link in there to comment to win. So that's my official entry video for the Halloween show that we're doing on the 29th. So if you are interested in trying to win a 60-minute session with me, then comment on that video that I just posted the link to there, and then show up for the Halloween show on the 29th.
That's right. That's right. Don't be afraid to dress up. You know, it's that time of the year. Pretty soon I got to dig my wizard hat out and my costume out, and whoo, we got some new costumes on the way this year. It's going to be fun.
Yeah, you can't wait.
That's right. Thank you, Dalibor, for being just so smart and knowing way more than I do.
Thank you.
Holy cow. I would have to stay up a lot longer than 24 hours.
I'm sure we got a whole lot more to talk about, but we'll do that in a different show.
That's right. So people, go out, do something nice for your neighbor, do something nice for yourself, do a little studying, be wise, and be the frequency you want to receive, everyone. Love you all. Peace, everybody.